afternoon, and welcome to this week's episode of LevelUp Cyber. My name is Tony Bryan, the Executive Director of CyberUp, and so excited to spend the next 30 or so minutes with you guys and just really catching up. So first and foremost, let's address the elephant in the room. We took a break, right? We hit into 2023. There was a lot going on. There's a lot going on within the organization. There's a lot going on personally that it just really got hard to kind of keep up the time and timing and the framework of getting folks and guests into the show. So we took a little break, and so I appreciate y'all's patience in joining us. But super excited to spend. Already got a few great shows lined up for everybody. But excited to get back into this. The content was good. Everybody who listened, I really appreciated the feedback along the way. It's been a lot of fun doing these shows and just, having some great conversations. So that being said, very excited to continue this tradition in 2024. That being said, for those that are new, Happy New Year. Here we are, new year, new you. I'm sure you've set your resolutions and you're already starting to get on it. Hopefully you're still on track and you're doing everything you should. I've stumbled a few times already on my resolutions, but we're getting there. So it's always a really good time at the beginning of the year to reassess and take a look at, reflect on the year past, look ahead to what you really want to have happen in this upcoming calendar year. So I thought, why not? Let's do that together today and really kind of talk through last year, this year, and I think where we're going to go for the next couple years as we wrapped up our strategic plan. So 2023. A year across the country of just uncertainty, unknown, war. There was just, unemployment, interest, inflation. Man, there was so many different things and competing priorities for everybody across the year that it got just complicated. You sprinkle that in with, a COVID is starting to, open back up and things are really starting to get a little bit better. And so, it was an interesting time. All that being said, in terms of for CyberUp, right, we had a really good year. We had, our goals. If you looked at our year in review and just some of the metrics that we were really proud to share in the past week, all things considered, we closed out 2023 in just a really positive way. So, first and foremost, we reimagined our youth program, our PowerUp program. We had, for the past 3 years, have run a cybersecurity competition, and it was so great. I'm going to be honest, the feedback and the participation and numbers continue to grow, and the educators and the students that participated really enjoyed the program. But what we found, let me take a step back. The reason we created the program was to really make a fair and equitable space for middle school, high school students to compete. What we were finding is all too often is that these schools, it really came down to the haves and have-nots, and who had the technology, who had the educators and the mentorship support that determined that success. So we thought that we could do it better and make a program that was more universally acceptable. And the reality is that's really hard, right? And it's, did we do it better? I think we did a good job with it, but I also think that there are a lot of societal things that we still have to work on, right? Teachers are tired, teacher pay. There's all these other kind of contributing factors around just education as a whole that really help separate students that can and can't do stuff. But that being said, without going into too many soapbox and preaching about it, we reimagined PowerUp. We shifted it to 2nd, 4th, and 7th grade students, really around cyber safety, cyber gaming, lots of more informational things for these students to have those conversations at a younger age, so they feel more comfortable and confident in how they're protecting themselves, because there are a lot of risks for these young students. And of course, as they get older and we get into 7th grade and a little bit higher, we start talking about careers and we talk about skills and skills paths. It really do that. So we're looking ahead to this year. We want to engage 500 students. We're pivoting that a little bit from school year tracking of data, where it's more calendar year, and it really allows us to go to our employer partners, which we're very fortunate to have met so many great industry folks across the board, to really look at how are we helping get them volunteering, how are we helping them model, how are we helping them get into these schools and really have conversations with these kids in a positive way to inspire them to want to do more and see cyber as a career path they could choose. In the process of all this stuff and getting PowerUp kind of reimagined in this space is we wound up doing a really cool partnership with the Girl Scouts of America. We partner with them to make cybersecurity badges. So with that, we've awarded over 500 cybersecurity badges to Girl Scouts all across the St. Louis area. It's Illinois and St. Louis and a little bit around there, but we've done a lot of in-person sessions with these incredible young women that are learning stuff about cybersecurity with their parents and their den leaders, and it's been a lot of fun. In 2023, we trained nearly 12,000 hours. That's, for perspective, that's a lot of time. But we trained over 125 folks in 2023, which resulted in 12,000 hours of free skills we provided for folks all across the country. That part continues to be phenomenal. Out of those nearly 12,000 hours that were trained, 80% of our students that participate in our program completed. Now, 80%, not 100%. Nothing's ever 100%. I wish it was. But in the grand scheme, this curriculum's really hard, right? It's not like it's, we're not teaching the ABCs. This is very highly technical stuff. So if you've not had a career in tech, like this isn't just you learn and you pick up and you go, right? So there's a lot of rigor. There's a lot of just challenge that comes along with the coursework. So it really is, it's a complicated course. So, for an 80% graduation rate, that is great. We're always continuing to strive to get better. So 80% is good for us, but we want to continue to make it better. So a lot of stuff that the team is working on is continuing to make and improve those graduation rates, improve pass certification pass rates, and really continue to make the programs better for those that come into it. And the last stat that we had shared is, 95% of our apprentices that were placed have been retained with their employers. That's a testament of just the quality of people. And, for all the 80% and the 12,000 hours of just the folks that do finish our program, are leaps and bounds. And they do such a great job for folks that it's been really fun to watch. The other side of that is, that those folks it's a true testament that the organizations we work with are good partners that have really taken the idea of skills-based hiring to another level. They've supported their hiring managers. They've supported a lot of folks to really help kind of make this program and framework work for those organizations. And it doesn't have to be that complicated, right? We make it easy for these organizations. So we really just ask for a little bit of that. So, quick summary: reimagined, launched PowerUp in a brand new way. Kudos to our Rachel Bracker, our youth program manager, for making not only a great curriculum, but putting it in a great format that we have found that kids are really just getting excited about and enjoying the content. The Girl Scout badges, man, they've been fun. If you've been paying attention to our socials, there's a lot of great photos of some of the outings we've done with the Girl Scouts over the last 12 months. And then training continues to, of course, always be an important part of it. So as we wrapped up 2023 and doing all those great things, what was happening behind the scenes that really kind of goes under the radar is, we were due for a strategic plan refresh. What does the next 3 to 5 years for CyberUp look like? It's been, it's crazy to say my 8-year mark with the organization is in a couple of weeks in February, I think like 14th, so about 30 days. And man, what I can say is that the world of cyber has changed a lot. The pace in which all this stuff has happened continues to evolve. And it's a lot. It really has. It's been a lot to see all this kind of grow and shape. So we really wanted to take a look at what is our next 3 years and what is our role in this ever evolving landscape of cybersecurity that I think is going to continue to evolve, right? Like there's an interesting year, I think, ahead of us for 2024 on many fronts. It's an election year that comes with its own things, right? Like it comes with its own stuff that's going to come into it. Inflation continues to be a thing. There's a lot of content and articles being put around hiring, slowing, and all these different things in tech jobs. So, there's a lot of uncertainty in those things that are coming up. But, what we found as we were looking ahead for us is, okay, what have we been really good at? What currently exists in the market? What isn't being served? And what could we do better? So first and foremost, it was, through that mix, and I'm sure we've shared some of this strategic plan stuff, and we will over the next couple of weeks. And this is really intended to be that first kind of precursor and that kind of sharing that information with everybody. But, so we reimagined our mission, vision, values. we really looked at, what is our theory of impact as an organization? What do we want to accomplish across the board, within this space, and the vision of that, and what do we really hope to accomplish, right? As a nonprofit, we're trying to solve an issue. We've all know what the issue is there's hundreds of millions of jobs that are in cybersecurity, and we got to create people to do it, right? And now we'll say that we've created a ton of people, and then we just haven't really made an environment that's really good for all the jobs. So for the people that are trained. So what's this balance between the two? So that being said, within our strategic plan, we got it approved at our December board meeting along with our budget. And there wasn't anything crazy or earth shattering in it, right? We didn't reimagine programs. We weren't expanding this or trying to target 25 different cities. The idea really was, how do we continue to get better? And at the things that we currently do, how do we increase efficacy of our programs, and how do we scale? An important word here: how do we scale the work that we're doing well? And do it in a smart way that we're not just growing for growth's sake. So collectively, with that being said, we mapped out kind of 4 concrete goals, and they're like, it's one of those things, and I guess for context, everybody is, maybe you have or haven't seen a strategic plan, but oftentimes nonprofit strategic plans are 25, 30 pages of SWOT analysis and this, and there's a lot of fluff and storytelling behind it, and all of the kind of back end, how you got to the thought process of your goals. And we follow the traction model, entrepreneur operating system we have for the past 4 or 5 years. And it's a much simpler version of that, right? It is 2 whole pages. That is it. It doesn't negate the importance of SWOTs, and that doesn't show that didn't happen, right? Because we do have those conversations, and I assure you there's a lot of effort and work kind of done up front to look through comparisons of other programs. But with those 2 pages, it really says, okay, this is what right looks like from us in the next 3 years on this day, December 31st, 2026, this is where CyberUp will accomplish. So for us, it was, we're going to train 5,000 people. We're going to create, I'm going to back that up. That's not actually accurate. That's a much larger goal than it would be. But within the goals, and we'll get there in just a sec, we'll share those. But, it was really, there's those kind of 4 outcomes. And then each quarter and each year, we as a collective group, with the support of the board of directors, map out, these are our priorities of the things we want to do here for this year, and we'll continue to progress through it. So each quarter we meet, we talk about what we need to do this quarter for this annual goal, and it works really, really well for us. I'm proud to say Amber, our chief of staff, leads the goals, leads the charge, and really helps the tracking and mechanism of that. That's her role as an integrator within the system. And we've not missed a rock, knock on wood. It's been a good kind of goal setter there, where it's kept us on track. It's a really easy thing for us to share with our employer partners, and just with our partners we work with. And I think it serves as kind of an inspiring document, if I'm being honest. Like and it doesn't take 4.5 hours to read it. It's just very down and dirty. But the big things and kind of takeaways were, we're not focusing on, we're going to try to get in California and this and this. Yes, we're currently serving Missouri, Illinois, Colorado. We've got some stuff in North Carolina. But bigger picture, we're on kind of the final run, if you will, of creating national program standards. And I try not to. I'm an apprenticeship nerd, and we spend a lot of time talking about apprenticeship. And so oftentimes I find I can nerd out about this stuff, but it's really not that interesting to most people. But long story short, national program standards means that we can do apprenticeship in all 50 states. We don't have to go each individual state to do it. We still will continue to do that, because they're a hidden gem. Each state is phenomenal. They have their own little kind of nuances with it. So we've always, best practice, have done national and state stuff. But for this, just for sake of just convenience for everybody, we will have national program standards. We are focusing on a couple key sectors that we have found that we have had really good success with over the past several years, which gives us the ability to have case studies. It gives us the ability to create white papers and really show use cases of what's the right way and structure for somebody to create their own apprenticeship program and to do it. and also a lot of just, I'd say, advocacy around this idea of being an apprenticeship intermediary. What does that mean for employers, and how do we help serve you? So there's a lot of content I think that will continue to come of it, but all very exciting stuff that's coming up. I anticipate, just through the world of apprenticeship, that there's a lot of the federal grants, the DOL grants that have been given out over the last couple of years that are winding down. Right, there's a couple that we work with, the Closing the Skills Gap grant, and some of the others, are winding down. Then there's been a lot of extensions, right? COVID changed a lot of the kind of timelines for some of this stuff, and I think changed the rules for a lot of the grants, not out of necessity, right? It was just there was a lot of uncertainty. I mean, specifically, even the Closing the Skills Gap grant, right? They got dropped in like February, and we got shut down in March. So they went from a program that was 100% based of in class and doing that type of instruction to fully remote. And doing this, there was a lot of lessons learned within the apprenticeship framework, but it is getting better, and that part's been a lot of fun just to kind of watch and see. So for goals, I want to make sure we tap into what goals look like and how those are coming together. But and if, by the way, if you do have questions, be sure to put them in the chat. Definitely want to. And we're an open book. I'm going to definitely tell you anything that you want to know around placement, but or around CyberUp. But that being said, goals for us as we look ahead to 2024 and beyond. Again, scaling was very important in this. As it's not a matter of just trying to grow, right? Of course, growth is important. Growth generally reflects that there are. There's funding that comes along with it. There's a lot of other pieces that come within that growth, but it is very important, just I think in the grand scheme of life, to really have a solid understanding of kind of where you're going. So with that, here are, as I mentioned, 4 key goals that we're tracking. I'll make sure I give you the direct numbers. So over the next 3 years, CyberUp will, and I'm going to use a couple keywords that were very important, and we were hyper vigilant in our verb selection. I love the English language. If you don't, there's a lot of great words out there, and we kind of get in the rut of using the same ones. So we try to find new ones, right? So there are kind of 3 core verbs that we used a lot that are differentiate each of our programs. So ignite, right? So there you'll see a lot of stuff around igniting curiosity, and that is centered around our youth program. So through PowerUp, we will engage 3,500 students to learn about cybersecurity, cyber safety over the next 3 years. Very, very great stuff. That's nonprofits like the Girl Scouts, school district partners. It's pretty wide open, but generally focused 2nd, 4th, 7th grade, right? So that's number 1. To do that, right? That's a lot of students and a lot of young people we're going to engage with, and we're a massive staff of 7. So 7 people and 3,500 students isn't really going to math. So that'll require us to recruit and engage 280 volunteers through PowerUp over the next 3 years. Again, kudos to the team. If you haven't looked, we've got a very well thought out volunteer application process now on our website that you fill out. There's a volunteer orientation. There's a lot of great kind of nuances there. So we've made that as easy as possible, whether you're an individual who is interested in volunteering or you're a corporation that's looking for things to come and volunteer and do with us. A good example is, we've partnered with Verizon and we've partnered with Centene a couple times on doing mock interviews, right? They send, 5 or 6 folks to the organization for a virtual mock interview. They do the run through the interviews, they give the feedback, and it's great. So it's a very small, tangible amount of time for that organization that they can commit and really have a big impact on our folks. And we want to do the same thing for PowerUp. Looking ahead to more of the adult stuff, right? So we will train 525 people through our LevelUp training program. We didn't scale that a lot, right? And I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier around the 80% completion rate. So a big priority has been, okay, how do we continue to make that better? How do we get and serve more people? And really, when somebody's done with it, they look back and like, that training changed my life. That training led to a job. And it's a training that every employer knows that we do a really good job, and they're calling us and they're kind of knocking on our door to find those folks, right? So how do we get at that level for anybody coming into our program? So 525 candidates trained, and we want to create, right? I want to make sure I'm clear, create 244 jobs through apprenticeship, right? So I don't anticipate that we're going to go through and get everybody who goes through our program an apprenticeship. That's not I mean, that would be the goal and that would be phenomenal, but I don't know that that's grounded in reality. The goal is to get as many of those folks into careers as possible. Sometimes individuals find their own job, sometimes they find it through us, through apprenticeship. So it really is a matter of success. What you're not going to hear us say is that CyberUp's mission is to only do this for apprenticeship and this for youth. It really is, we want to grow the workforce, right? And I'll just give you a kind of a direct quote. Our mission is to elevate the cybersecurity workforce by igniting curiosity, developing talent, and transforming career pathways, right? Like, so that's students, adults, and then the transforming career pathways is really centered around employers and how are they thinking about the ways they're hiring folks. So that is a great segue and a transition to a question that we were looking at. This idea is, what is a call to action, right? How can we get employers on board and excited with this idea of looking beyond degrees, looking beyond, and I'm really trying to get out of the habit of traditional, non-traditional pathway, because I just don't think that matters anymore, right? I really don't think there's this idea of one linear path to get a job. I'll go on a rant here in just a sec to kind of piggyback on that. But the call to action that we're really kind of looking at is, beyond apprenticeship, because I still think the word carries a stigma for some organizations. And we've gone through iterations where we didn't use the word, and we brought the word back, and we're using the word again because it really is. It's a positive thing, right? Like, and I would argue to any employer, any organization, that regardless of where somebody went, college, community college, our program, pay-to-play boot camp, every person who starts a job, an entry-level job within an organization, regardless of cyber and anti-cyber, benefits from the structure of a one-year apprenticeship program. Let me say that again. Any person who's starting a career in a company can benefit from the structure of an apprenticeship program, right? I'm not saying that apprenticeship's the only way, but like there's a recipe and ingredients, job, pay, training, mentorship, right? Additional certifications through that apprenticeship offers that makes a better first year experience for somebody who's hiring. So my question is, and where I have not heard a good answer, is that are companies looking at things like skills-based hiring? Sure, we're looking at diversity, equity, inclusion, very important. But that's a what's the word I'm looking for? That is a symptom, right? Not a fix. That's a symptom. It's part of the equation, right? Like the D&I makeup, women, veterans, people of color. All that is a symptom, or not in a bad way, but it's a small piece of the pie. But broadly, this idea of just how do we hire, right? I think it's a bigger question that is beyond just who we hire, is how do we hire. And so in this world where we're sitting at, and as again, I've said this so many times, but it's been a minute. We have new people in the audience. Of like, I have 4 kids. They range from 28 to 19. So I go millennial to very Gen Z. What I'm really finding is that younger folks, college is not a blip. There's so much money. It's expensive. It seems unfathomable for some of these young folks to go spend $200,000 to sit in a classroom to maybe get a job and maybe or not get a job. The return isn't there. Now, that's not me trashing college education. I'm just saying, like, as a whole, it's important for us to recognize that things are changing. Times are changing. Young people are changing. We have since the beginning of time, since the Bible was written. Every generation is smarter than the generation before, and it's really just a matter of just data and evolution and just progress of just society. So how do companies make programs that hire folks that really are looking at multiple spectrums of how they're recruiting and finding their folks? So, I think it's important for a lot of organizations to really take a step back and look at this idea of skills-based hiring and really how are they doing it? We got to eliminate the degree requirement. We have to reimagine what that looks like. And we've seen examples, and I can give, that's not today. If you want to look at it, really look at maybe the Centene kind of episode. We showed it twice last year of just some of the things that they did to make it work. But all that being said, big call to action for us in 2024 is we want companies to walk alongside us and others, right? We're not the only one. We're not the only, person in the group that does this stuff, but really have companies take a look at their best practices that they are implementing for skills-based hiring, period, right? Skills-based hiring is I think are conversations that are happening in employers, and we want to continue to help them do more. So what maybe that takes shape as a curriculum, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far just yet. We're still working on some of the other kind of basic stuff for that, but stand by for more within the board and the organization of how we really activate those ideas of a skills-based hiring model and best practice. So in closing, as we're winding down for the next, just to kind of set the stage for the year, for this show, what we're going to do for the year, I'm excited about 2024. We had a great 2023. I think there was some room for improvement on the placement side, but hiring across the board in the country was way down, right? So I think it wasn't just an isolated thing for CyberUp. I think across the country there was a lot of just kind of downturn in hiring across the board. If indicators are going the way they are right now, we've had some incredible conversations with employers already in the first 3 weeks of 2024. So I'm optimistic that we have a really good ramp right ahead of us for what this hiring practice is going to be. So, that being said, always looking for volunteers to come in. You want to hang out with young students. We encourage you to sign up. It's, wecyberup.org/volunteer. Takes you to it. There's a form. It's an easy thing to do. If you want to speak, to mock interview, we definitely encourage that. If you just want to simply get involved and understand how you can participate in the goals and really some of the strategy behind what we're doing, always feel free to direct message me here on LinkedIn, send me a direct message via email. Always open to it. But that being said, also incredibly just fortunate to have a strong board of directors that has, I think, put a lot of trust and confidence in just the team and the organization to continue to drive and do things in a good way. So there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us, and I'm excited to share that, share those journeys with you along the way and continue to share outward positive examples of how this continues to change lives. What I know and I've seen time and time again is that apprenticeship works. This non-traditional hiring works. The individuals that come through our program are set up for financial independence for the rest of their lives, and the employers that they're partnered with us for those people have great employees that are happy to come to work and are just very appreciative of the opportunity they're given. So, it's all win-win across the board. Next week's episode, a friend, I think he's listening right now as we're sitting here. His name's Cameron Razavi. He had just made a transition, right? He had been working in the kitchen. I've shared this story a couple times in here, but had worked in the kitchen for several years. And as you get older, sometimes standing on your feet 12, 15, 16 hours a day takes a toll. And so Cam, jumped in, really looked at this idea of cyber and really made an effort at it, and it paid off. So I don't want to steal the thunder of the show because it's a really good, exciting story. But excited to share his journey with you from chef to cybersecurity next year and next week. And then the upcoming weeks, we also have a couple other guests, some familiar names here in St. Louis and even beyond. So as always, thank you guys for tuning in. This will drop on our podcast here a little bit later, but excited to get back into these episodes of Level Up Cyber with you in 2024. If there are topics or things you want to see, shoot me a note. If you want to be a guest, always open to it. Let's have a great conversation and go. So with that, have a great week. See you next Tuesday.